We'll call this July 1st, 2025 meeting of the Jefferson County Planning Commission to order. We'll start with roll call.
Warren Oxshire,
Here.
David Bramer,
Here.
David Ferguson,
Here.
Jenny Beverly, here, Lisa Hammett, here, Ray Black,
Present.
Britt Copeland, Mike Pittman,
Here.
Larry Wynn.
Here. We have a quorum, so we'll continue for meeting. Give you background. We're going to be starting this evening with a public hearing on a zoning map change that's been requested. After we have the zoning map change, public hearing, we will come back as a plan commission and discuss of making favorable or unfavorable recommendations on the zoning map change that's before us. And once we deal with that business, then we will be continuing for a discussion on recommendations on the UDO adaptation that we had tabled last meeting. This evening, there will not be any, there will be public comment at the hearing phase of the campground discussion and zoning change at the proving ground property is going to be presented. But there will not be public discussion or input on the UDO solar. We have had our various meetings, we had our hearing. The member that wasn't here for the hearing has been able to review the video of that meeting to bring him up to speed, so forth on that end. There's been numerous emails that came in, those have been distributed to planning commission members. And the written material that was submitted last time has been reviewed. So we feel we've covered and we've heard from everyone, and then the planning commission is going to have to make some decisions this evening, and we'll go from there. So at this time, I will convene the public hearing for the zoning change by the Jefferson County commissioners are presenting. And are you want to cover the particulars as to what involved, or do you want me to go through it?
Sure, I can go through it. So the county owns 221 acres on the not quite the southeast side of Jefferson Proving Ground, but around Kruger Lake. We have been developing a project to go south of Kruger Lake to put in a campground. When it's final, we're looking to have about 180 hookups or spots there. The first phase would be 55 or so, but it will be south of Kruger Lake. It'll have a connection through trails, not through roads to Kruger Lake. There's also some new amenities that are going to be put around the lake. They're going to develop more of the hiking trails. There's going to be a disc golf course put around the lake. There's a few boardwalks around the wetlands, trying to not disturb it, but just to show it off. So we've been granted approval for some funds, but we need to make sure that the zoning is appropriate. So part of the property is zoned agricultural, and some of it is zoned low density residential, R1. So we'd like to request to change the low density residential to agricultural.
And to clarify, all we're looking at this evening is the zoning change on the property. The property that is zoned R1, we do not allow campground as a special exception in an R1 district. They are allowed as a special exception in an agricultural district. So if the zoning is approved for those changes, the county will still be coming back to the BZA asking for a special exception to be able to put in the campground. And at that time, they would be required to meet our developmental plans for a campground and to submit all of the information that is needed for the BZA to make a decision this evening. So essentially all we're looking at tonight is the zoning change. So if Mr. Bramer, if you don't have anything else, I'll open it up. Do we have anyone from the public that wants to address the proposed zoning change on the parcels within inside the Proving Ground gate area on the county property?
I just had a question.
It's more to hear from you than question, but
Where is the residential zoning in, is it adjacent to the agricultural part that you're planning to put the campground?
yes, it is actually part of some of the parcels The parcel, part of it falls into agricultural, and there's a smaller piece that's R1 residential, and those pieces, there's not any houses there now. It's not butting up against any houses. It's a little difficult to look at the map to understand how it initially, they separated the parcel out and decided to make it R1, other than maybe because there was access to highway or to a road. They thought, well, possibly someone might want to put houses here in the future. And that's never been developed. So there's not any, I am correct, I'm saying there's nothing in the vicinity at all that it impacts. It's agricultural that surrounds the majority of it.
So it's one continuous parcel?
Yes, it's one group, 4 parcels that are all contiguous with each other.
Okay,
Yes.
thank you.
Yeah, and they show up on the GIS. You can look at them and bring up the zoning layers and you can see them and that.
The current housing is probably a mile to the west of that area or more, probably a mile and a half. So that's where the old, housing for the, army, what was an army installation.
Thank you.
We have anyone else? All right, then at this time, we will adjourn the hearing and go back to our regular session for discussion on the zoning thing. Do the board members have any questions, any comments?
The ground being used for anything right now? No, play there.
And is there a, really what, since I've done the zoning change, is there a finding of fact?
No, it's just whether or not you're gonna make a favorable or unfavorable recommendation.
Any comments?
And we're talking about frisbee golf. So just to make that clear.
Right.
And,
When we have an option, we can make a favorable, unfavorable, or no recommendations. It will go to the commissioners for their approval after we after we make our recommendation. So
on motion
at this, and you're motioning for
to proceed with this,
with a favorable recommendation.
to move forward with the, developing that campground.
I would be moving forward with a favorable recommendation to change the zoning to all ag.
Yes.
Do we have a second for that?
Awesome.
Any further discussion? Roll call vote?
Warren Oxshire,
Yes.
David Bramer,
Abstain.
David Ferguson,
Yes.
Jenny Beverly,
Yes.
Lisa Hammack,
Yes.
Ray Black,
Yes.
Mike Pittman,
Yes.
Larry Wynn.
Yes. All right, motion passes. We'll make a favorable recommendation to the commissioners on it. Now, we'll move on now to our discussion on our solar UDO and open it up to the members here for comments, thoughts. As of one comment, we have reviewed everything that was sent in with us and we made some changes at our last meeting. And any thoughts on how we want to proceed from there? One item that had came up that had been brought to attention among, there's been several. And one that has been brought up, we currently have a land cap set that we would have a maximum of 4,000 acres of solar. And there have been questions and several comments have made as to how that fell in compared to the 2% that has came out of the state side. There was a state house bill that there had been a proposal. They did an amendment that approved no more than 2% of the total land area of the county be used for solar, wind, or that type of thing. And I looked into that, and when you look at Indiana or Jefferson County, the number of square miles, the number of square acres we have, the 4,000 acres that we're proposing is 1.71%. So we're below that 2% as far as what the state had recommended, even though that wasn't ever voted into law. It just been an amendment. But one of the questions that came up, the way our ordinance proposal reads is that basically all that would be counted toward the 4,000 acres is the land within inside the fenced area. And part of our thought process on it was we want to limit the 4,000 acres of production land being taken out of production. And so we're looking at the possibility of, and see how the board feels on this, I'll pass these down, of making a change basically that will, read a little bit differently. It, would read land coverage caps, a maximum of 4,000 acres of commercial SES projects can be approved as commercial SES special exception use with all areas of Jefferson County, which shall include the planning jurisdictions of Jefferson County, Madison, and Hanover. Acreage within the fenced areas and tillable acreage outside of the fenced areas, which is taken out of production, shall be counted as commercial SES project cap acreages. Wanted to check and see what the board's thoughts were on that.
So are we talking about the setback area? Is that what we're talking
It
about?
generally would be setback areas, and if it was going to be left in production as a setback area, it would not count towards the cap if it was still being farmed. But if it was not going to be farmed, it would count towards the acreage cap.
Okay.
It would not include, where houses are and all of that type of thing that was
Right.
involved in, participating houses and so forth. And if it needs to be cleared up a little bit on the setback, put into that, we can make a few small changes on that language. Let have our consultant polish that side.
I think it would make a difference, you know, if we, I know we need to go back and talk about the setbacks. Whether we can 500 or 1,000, 600, 700 would make a difference.
Mhm.
What's being
Yeah.
considered in that 4,000 cap.
Right.
Is there a reason why we're not going with the legal descriptions? I mean, every project that we have come to us is the legal descriptions, and that would be, and of course, that's with the leasing and the leaseor on the legal descriptions of what they're putting into the project.
The main area, with my understanding, we weren't going with the complete legal description because the legal description may include a lot of acreages that aren't directly involved in the project as such. When you take the one plat of land that has the farm on it and houses on it and barns on it and so forth, we weren't wanting to count the ground in that's already not in production. You know, it mainly was concerned of ground coming out, tillable ground that was in production. Our pasture land, most of it's all tillable ground though, being pulled out. And if you count the, property there that's, being used for the houses and the barns and so forth, it skews that total as such.
Don't they have to have setbacks so far off of creeks and brawls and?
We don't define those would come more under the floodway side and so forth, that they're compliance with that. Marge will confine the participating, non-participating properties, types of zoning properties and right of ways on the road side of it. There's been a comment as well made on the setback, as Lisa just mentioned, of whether 500 is where we'd settled on it here before as a board. And there's been comments made of wanting to move to 1,000. And you know, the only comment I have on the 500 versus 1,000, it is difficult for me to see where changing to 1,000 will lessen the effect on an individual property as far as affecting the value. We have the screening in place, it can extend the sides quite a ways. What I see the push for taking it to 1,000 actually does is a step to take it to say, we just do not want solar, period. And in most of the cases, if you take it out to 1,000 foot setback, you're going to make it extremely impractical to put solar in the county. And when we started this process, it was, I believe the planning commission's whole intent to revise our ordinances to where we could protect property values, decommissioning down the road, and the effect on adjoining property owners, and yet allow solar if they could come in and not have those negative effects.
What's Purdue's recommendation on setbacks?
Purdue's recommendation that we had in our original, Purdue's and the state of Indiana, where we started our original ordinances was 150 foot for non-participating properties. And that's where we wrote, that's what our current ordinances say as such. And so we've taken that out at 500 feet, we're out over 3 times that original amount that we were. And we increased the screening and the types of screening and extending it out to the sides significantly from where we were. And there were concerns that were expressed on the decommissioning side. We have extremely strong language in on the bond requirements, the decommissioning, the soil sampling, decompaction, once the project would be completed and so forth.
So the energy company would have either bond or in escrow money to take and correct any damage.
Yes, and our UDO calls for 125% of what that estimate is. And that estimate has to be determined by a qualified third party. Now, the energy company has to pick up the expense, reimburse the county or pay up front the county for the expense of doing that study. If they do a study, the county has to be signed off, it has to be suitable to them, the whole decommissioning plan. Then it covers though that every 3 years, that study has to be redone because things change quickly. It can cost considerably more 3 years down the road than it did originally. And at the same time that study's done, we also tied it in to where there would be a 3-year operation permit. And if the study doesn't take place, they don't get the operation permit. The operation permit also is set up that it reviews, have they been complying? Is the landscaping being kept up? Are the fences what they're supposed to be and so forth? And if their operation permit is not renewed, they have to stop operation. And within 12 months of stopping operation, the decommissioning process would start. So, and the bond would be there to pay it. And the bond is worded in such a way that it has to stay in place. They have to find a bonding company that will issue a bond that is there for the duration of the project. If they stop paying on the bond company is still on the hook. They may choose, if they want, they could put money in an escrow account that's agreeable and set it up in some type of way to cover it that direction. And then we also, on top of that, we have, general liability requirements of 5 million and pollution liability requirement of 5 million written into the UTO. And then all of the, on the decommissioning side, there's language that we've included that, does soil sampling on a per acre basis. And it spells out in fairly detail what baselines that's supposed to establish. And at such time that the decommissioning occurred, it requires the soil to basically be put back to those same parameters. And there's a little leeway within so many parts per million, one way or the other. And so if it was, things that accumulated in the property, there would be a responsibility to put those back as such. We wrote extremely strong on the decommissioning side. Thoughts on this change on the cap, or do we want to leave it as it's written now to where it only counts on the inside fenced area? Does anyone want to address the setback?
I'll make a motion to accept the verbiage that was presented.
Second.
We have any further discussion on that? And we'd be having a roll call vote, accepting the verbiage on the land coverage caps to bring those to acreage within the fenced-in areas and tillable acreage outside of the fenced area, which is taken out of production, to be counted as commercial SES project cap coverage.
Warren Oxford,
Yes.
David Bramer,
Yes,
David Ferguson,
Yes.
Jenny Beverly,
No,
Lisa Hammack,
Abstain.
Ray Black,
Yes.
Mike Pittman,
Yes.
Larry Wynn.
Yes. All right, the motion passes, so we've made that amendment to it. Any further motions? I entertain a motion then for a favorable, unfavorable, or no recommendation on the UDO as a whole.
I'll make a motion favorable that we accept our approved amendments and we move on with everything that we've done up to this point.
Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Any further discussion? I have a roll call vote.
Warren Oxford,
Yes.
David Bramer,
yes,
David Ferguson,
Yes.
Jenny Beverly,
no,
Lisa Hammack, abstain, Ray Black,
Yes.
Mike Pittman,
Yes.
Larry Wynn.
Yes. Motion passes, and we'll be making a favorable recommendation on the UDO with the amendments that we've made to it. We have a note here, I'd ask you shortly before it, oh, that's different, this is one. We have zoning enforcement regarding Harley Colburn. Josh, I think you're up.
We also need to approve the minutes.
Okay, thank you.
I just printed out, 4 pictures from yesterday.
Is that served as a resolution enough for you that we're the way we passed it?
We're gonna need to, she's also so that we got.
I'll get that to you.
But yeah, I'll get you a picture.
Ready?
Yes.
Arlie Coleman's place is, 8180 West State Road 256 out in Kent. Back in, I think 11/14 of 2022, there was 2 houses there that burnt. 2 properties side by side, it's across from the Kent Fire Department, if that helps anybody. One of the properties he has sold and is getting cleaned up, it's getting pretty close. The property where he lives, he's dragged a couple of trailers in there. He's run into an old septic that's there. I don't really know that there's any approval to. What we're looking at today is that there's still some trash on the place. And he's in violation with the 2 campers being there and living in. He's had notice that to come tonight. I haven't seen him here. We've asked him to come in and pass, and he hasn't showed up in quite some time, so. I guess moving forward, and see if we can, what we can do to abate the campers that are sitting there. Trash, it's.
You're wanting probably to take action to move the campers off the property and to clean up the trash. So that's
Correct.
And so at this point, are you thinking we need to go through court action on that? Is that where you're at on the
Probably gonna have
standstill?
to. I think that's probably what we're gonna have to do at this point, yes.
County, I think the county's attempted to work with him, so.
yes, we have. I was wondering why you wanna wait till Thursday and come to our meeting and
What's that?
come Thursday to us, cause we have, we've had several.
I mean, the last time I brought it to you, I don't know, a month or 2 ago, we were kind of to the point that, falls under the planning commission. As far
The
as the
campers do, the junk and the zoning would be under the junk would be under the commissioners. So, And if we're going to take,
The junk can be under either one.
right, right,
Yes, that's what.
so.
You share the wealth.
Mhm.
So I guess my point is on that one, if the planning commission decides to move forward with that, I would keep it all in one bucket, I guess.
We would work with the commissioners on it and do one action instead of two separate. It wouldn't be a point in doing two separate, in my opinion.
So would you like that in the form of a motion?
That's up to you guys.
I'll make that motion.
I don't know if there's anybody here that,
For,
I don't see
proceeding with, county cleanup is,
Well, it'd be to take file action in the court, is where we would be going on it, you know, it's about. So,
Well, I'll second it. I drive by it every day.
Yeah.
So I'll say it for you.
well, I know that, you know, there's been a lot of people that have reached out and tried to help that situation out there. And, they haven't gotten a lot of cooperation back the other way. It has been some improvements, but, I think it's probably gotten to the point that it's gonna take this action. Any other discussion or comments on it?
And like I said, he had made some improvements on it but then he stops. And there's been a
I
year.
can't get him to
Yeah.
even reach out.
I mean, he used to come to the meetings.
Won't answer phone calls, he won't come to meetings, so.
What else? It's been almost 3 years.
Yeah, I know, but since he came to a meeting and talked to us about it, but I agree. And we were,
3 years.
well, yeah, we were,
Yeah, we need a
like, we always try to work with them if they're gonna try to clean it up, but he's just stopped.
Then, we have a motion on the table to go ahead and start the court action. We coordinate with commissioners on including the junk in it. It sounds like we would do both, and we just need all those in favor. We don't need a roll call vote on this one. All those in favor, aye. Aye, opposed, same sign, it passes unanimously, so we'll proceed on that. And then, Taylor has reminded me, I overlooked, approval of our minutes at the beginning of the meeting. I got off track a little bit. Everyone have an opportunity. We have 2 sets of minutes. Are there any changes or additions to either one of them? We had a June 3rd and a June 10th, I believe.
We were talking about, the UDO, the solar, we had brought up the material, the DFCs.
That is one of the changes that we've made.
Right, and I meant, and maybe I didn't say it, but possibly did that if you could come back with building permit application and not the application for the project itself.
Yes, we're requiring that they would submit it as part of the bill.
Building permit,
Yeah,
right, not the application.
not
for
the
project.
application.
Right.
Right.
That's what I wanted to clarify.
Everyone have a chance to look at minutes? If
I'll make a
not,
motion that we accept the minutes as
Both
presented.
sets. That's second.
I second.
All those in favor? Opposed, same sign. All right, minutes approved. Anything else for this evening? Entertain a motion to adjourn.
So made.
Second, all in favor? Aye.